say, honey? You can't sleep? Why? Not feeling okay? Alright. You want me to tell this story? Well, any preferences? Wow. Alright. You promise you fall asleep when I finish the story? Okay. I'll take my book. Well, here is one book that my mom used to read to me when I was a kid. It's called Best Fairy Stories of the World. It has lots of stories that were like my refuge. All my childhood was surrounded by this mythology, of those stories. So, I'm moving to you, okay? Here's the count. Well, it's your choice. We have here Aladdin and the Wonderful Lamp, Ali Baba and the 40 Thieves, Vasilisa the Fair, Beauty and the Beast, Bluebeard, the Bunny, Cinderella, the Alice and the Shoemaker, the Story of the Emperor's New Clothes, the Fisherman and his Wife, the Frog Prince, Frost, the Story of Charlotte, the Golden Goose, the Goose Girl, Goldilocks and Three Bears, Hansel and Gretel, How Jack Went to See His Fortune, Jack and the Beanstalk, Jack the Giant Killer, The King of the Golden Mountain, The Little Match Girl, The Little Mermaid, Little Red Riding Hood, Story of Pretty Goldilocks, The Princess and the Bee, Puss in Boots, The Red Shoes, Rapunzel, Ricky of the Tuft, Rumpelstiltskin, The Sagacious Monkey and the Boar, Sleeping Beauty, Snow White, The Steadfast Tin Soldier, The Three Little Pigs, The Story of Tum Tum, Thumbelina, The 12 Dancing Princess, The Ugly Duckling, The Valiant Little Tailor, and The Well at the World's End. So, which one do you want me to read? You want some story that you never heard? Alright. I think I haven't told you this one. I haven't read this one for you yet. Let's see. I'm going to take my finger And in which page I open, I'll read it for you. Okay? Alright. Oh, Vasilisa the Fair. This is one of my favorites, you know? My mom, your grandmother used to tell me, oh, I feel really, really bad for this Vasilisa girl, but I honestly hate her. You used to usually just want me to read this single story every damn night. Yes, I really like this one. Well, here you go. Vasilisa the Fair. A long time ago, there lived a merchant and his wife. They had one child, a girl named Vasilisa. One day, the mother placed a little doll in the child's hands, and she said, "My child, I'm dying. Take this doll as my blessing. Always keep it with you and never show it to anybody. If anything bad happens to you, give the doll food and ask her for guidance." Shortly afterwards, the mother died. The merchant soon became lonely and decided to marry again. He married a widow he thought would be a good mother for both she and her two daughters were envious as Vasilisa's beauty. They gave her heavy outdoor work to do, so she would grow thin and her face turn ugly in the wind and the sun. However, Vasilisa became more beautiful every day. For each day she gave her doll food and asked for advice. Having finished eating, the doll would help with the tasks and even bring Vasilisa's herbs to prevent sunburn. As the years passed, Vasilisa grew even more beautiful as her stepmothers had rated of her insatisfied. Then, while Vasilisa's father was away on business, the stepmother moved the family to the edge of a dense birch forest. This was not just any birch forest. You see, for in this forest lived a terrifying witch, Baba Yaga, a witch who ate people like others eat chicken. It's okay, baby, don't be afraid of that. Baba Yaga is not gonna catch you. Every day, the stepmother sent Vasilisa into the forest, but the girl always returned safe and sound with the guidance of her magical doll. Then one night, the stepmother crept around the house and extinguished all the candles. As the last candle fell, she said in a loud voice, "It is impossible to finish all work in the darkness. Somebody must go to the Baba Yaga and ask for some light." "I'm not going," said the first stepdaughter, who was stitching lace. "I can see my needle." "And I'm not going," said the second stepdaughter, who was knitting stockings. "I can see my needles." So, Vasilisa was thrown out in the dark, forbidden forest. Despite her fear, she fed her magic doll and asked her for its advice. "Don't be afraid, Vasilisa," said the doll. "Go to Baba Yaga and ask her to give you a light." All that night, Vasilisa walked nervously through the forest, holding the door who guided her path. Then suddenly, she saw a horseman rushing by. His face and clothes were white, and he was riding a white horse. As he passed, the first light of dawn appeared across the sky. Then another horseman came by. His face and clothes were red, and he was riding a red horse. As he passed, the sun began to rise. Vasilisa had never seen such a strange man, and she was very surprised. She walked all day until at last she came to Baba Yaga's hut, which loomed forbiddingly on its large chicken legs. A fence made of human bones surrounded the hut. It was crowned with human skulls. The gate had a sharp set of teeth that served as a lock. Vasilisa was terribly afraid. Suddenly, another horseman galloped by. His face and clothes were black, and he was riding a black horse. He rode through the gates and disappeared. As he passed, night descended. Here, see? This is Baba Yaga's house. It's like a house with chicken legs. Strange, huh? Can you imagine living in a house like this one? Me neither. As the sky darkened, the eyes of the skulls began to glow. Their light illuminated the forest. Vasilisa trembled. She wanted to run, but her legs would not move. Almost immediately, she heard a hideous noise. The earth shook, the trees groaned, and there was Baba Yaga, riding in her mortar. She stopped and sniffed the air. I smell human, she cried. Who's here? Vasilisa stepped forward, trembling with fear. She said, I'm Vasilisa. My stepmother sent me to you ask for light. I know of her, Baba Yaga replied. Stay with me for a while. If you work well, I'll give you light. If you do not, I'll cook you and eat you. Baba Yaga commanded the gates to open and rode in. Vasilisa followed the gates, closed fast behind her. As they entered the hut, Baba Yaga ordered Vasilisa to bring her what was on the stove. There was enough food to feed 10 men. Then, from the cupboard, she collected kvass, mead, beer, and wine. Baba Yaga ate and drank everything. She left Vasilisa nothing but some crusts of bread. I'm tired, Baba Yaga said. Tomorrow, Vasilisa, you must clean the yard, sweep the hut, cook the supper, and wash the linen. Then, she added, you must go to the corn bin and separate seed by seed the mildewed corn from the good corn, and mind that you remove all the black bits. If you don't complete these tasks, I'm going to eat you. Soon, Baba Yaga started snoring. Her long nose rattled against the roof of the hut. Vasilisa took her doll out of her pocket, gave it a crust of bread, and said, Please help me, little doll. Baba Yaga has given me an impossible task to do, and if I fail, she'll eat me. The doll replied, Don't be afraid, Vasilisa. Eat your supper and go to bed. Mornings are wiser than evenings. Although Vasilisa worked early the next morning, Baba Yaga was already up. Vasilisa went to the corn bin and found the doll picking out the last black bits. The other tasks were already fulfilled. The doll said, All you have to do now is prepare the supper, and after that you can rest. Vasilisa thanked the doll and went to prepare supper. She cooked the food, laid the table, and waited. Presently the school's eyes began to shine, the trees groaned, the earth trembled, and there was Baba Yaga. "Have you done what I told you?" she asked Vasilisa. "See for yourself," replied the girl. Baba Yaga was very upset, for she wanted to eat the girl, but the tasks were all completed. Hiding her anger, she said, "Very good," and then cried loudly, "My faithful servants, grind the wheat." From nowhere, 3 pairs of hands appeared. They took the wheat and vanished. Baba Yaga ate the supper and said to Vasilisa, "Tomorrow you must do the same tasks, and then you must go to the storeroom and sort all the dirt from the poppy seeds." The next morning, Baba Yaga again rode off in her motor. Vasilisa, with the help of her doll, finished the tasks. In the evening, the old woman would come back and check that everything was okay. 3 pairs of hands appeared. They took the bin of poppy seeds and vanished. Baba Yaga sat down to eat. "Why do you sit there so quiet and still?" Baba Yaga asked. "I'm afraid to speak," said Vasilisa. "But would you mind if I ask you some questions?" "Ask if you want," said Baba Yaga. "But remember that not every question has a good answer." Vasilisa hesitated. "It's just that on my way here I saw a white horseman. Who was he?" "That was my bright day," answered Baba Yaga. Vasilisa continued. "Then I saw a red horseman. Who was he?" "That was my red son," answered Baba Yaga. "And then a black horseman overtook me while I was standing outside your gate. Who was he?" "That was my black midnight," answered Baba Yaga. "These horsemen are my faithful servants. Have you further questions?" Vasilisa remembered the 3 pairs of hands, but she remained quiet. "Now I have a question for you," Baba Yaga said. "How have you managed to carry out all the work so quickly?" Vasilisa replied, "My mother's blessing is helping me." "I knew it," said Baba Yaga. "You would better be gone. I would not have blessing people in my house." With that, the old woman pushed Vasilisa out the hut and through the gate. Then she took one of the skulls, stuck it in the end of a stick, and gave it to the girl, saying, "Here is a light to your stepmother and her daughters. That's what you came here for, isn't it?" Vasilisa walked all day, and by the evening she reached her home. As she approached the gates, she was about to throw away the skull, but suddenly she heard a muffled voice said, "You must keep me. Your stepmother and her daughters have need of me." The girl carried the skull into the house. As she entered, the skull fixed its eyes on the stepmother and her 2 daughters. Its eyes burned them like fire. They tried to hide, but the piercing eyes followed them and then never let them out of their sight. By morning, nothing was left of the 3 women except 3 heaps of ash on the floor. Vasilisa was unharmed. She buried the skull in the garden and went to find shelter in the nearest town. Here she lodged with an old woman. One day, the old woman gave Vasilisa some flax, With it, Vasilisa spun the most beautiful thread, so fine it was like hair. Then she waved the thread into the most exquisite cloth. It was brilliant white, soft and so beautiful. Vasilisa gave it to the old woman and said, "Grandmother, you have been so kind to me. Sell this cloth and keep the money." The old woman looked at it and said, "My child, this is too fine to sell. I'm going to take it to the Tsar." So she brought it to the Tsar as a gift. What is a Tsar? Well, this is a Russian fairy tale. So a Tsar, it's like a Russian king at that time. Okay? So she brought it to the Tsar as a gift. The Tsar thanked the old woman and gave her many presents before sending her home. Impressed with the beautiful cloth, the Tsar tried to find someone who could make shirts from it. However, all the tailors declined the work as the cloth was too fine for them to handle. In the end, the Tsar called the old woman and said, "You must also know how to sew the cloth as you made it." The old woman replied, "No, your Majesty, it was not my work. It was done by a girl I took in." The old woman replied, "No, your Majesty, it was not my work. It was done by a girl I took in." So the Tsar asked the old woman to see if Vasilisa would take the garments. Vasilisa made the shirt, and the old woman took them to the Tsar. As she waited for the old woman to return, one of the Tsar's servants entered. He said loudly, "His Majesty wishes to see the needlewoman who has made his wonderful clothes." So Vasilisa went to the palace. Vasilisa and the Tsar were captivated by each other, and eventually they married. When Vasilisa's father returned, they invited both him and the old woman to come and live at the palace. Also, at the palace was the little doll, for Vasilisa carried it around her in her pocket until the day she died. And then all of them lived happily ever after. The end. So, this was our story for today. Every time you want to read it, just call me, okay? Remember, best fairy stories of the world, okay? Feeling sleepy now, right? Okay, let me just cover you. Here we go. Now, I think you should better go to sleep, right?